of course, missing piece is if you can generate more electricity, right, then you're really cutting down costs. But I'd be interested to hear like what kind of quote you get, because it's such a less comprehensive retrofit than
the other issue, up against it.
It'll come back to you anyway,
Yeah.
I'm sure. Ken, hi Dennis. It seems chilly over here. Hi Deb, how are you? Cold, is that what you're asking? I saw you in the call.
It's cooler in here, so I thought it was getting fluid.
Yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't get too hot. Okay.
No, thank you for the rundown. That really helped me like frame the issues better. I appreciate that.
The electrical orders. But we can't count on interest rates like getting hundreds of thousands in interest. And I'm gonna say let's just pay for the entire house. Bonding part of it, this and that. Pay for it, then we'll get this federal credit. And then we'll get these annual test rec payments. Maybe we say, hey, we're going to create a facility there. Maybe we just take it easy and let's figure it all out. It's going to get scary. In the out years, we get it's just not as good. I'm not going to say scary, but it's really not as good. Just because the electric rates. Hopefully, was it the month or
What about the context in terms of vision for what this fund balance is going to mean to us in terms of current?
all good?
Thank you. Okay.
How about some heat?
I was going to say, feel compared to that.
That was too hot. This is, I got something going back here.
No, I took it except for I didn't like so I haven't been.
You recognize Dennis Eric from Sarah Kay?
Let the record reflect, we have reconvened with all members present. Councilman Bob Landrigan is a little bit under the weather, so he is excused tonight. For those who are able, I ask you to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and ask you to remain standing after the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing. I want to take a moment to remember members of our Borough staff family and a longtime Madison resident who we lost over the past few weeks. Roger Snyder, age 74, Madison, passed away on January 16th at his home with his family by his side. He is survived by his wife of 50 years, Patricia, one daughter, Stacy Dooley, who works in our purchasing department, and her husband, Edward. His two grandchildren, Emma and Sean Dooley, two brothers, Leroy, and his wife, Regina, Peter, and his wife, Diane, and also he leaves behind his devoted caregiver, Bruce Hilton, who cared for him for the past year and a half of his life. Roger was born in Newark in August 1949, raised in Chatham with his two brothers, and was a graduate of Chatham High School. He went on to earn his bachelor's degree from Christian Brothers University in Memphis, Tennessee, where he majored in English. Roger and Patricia were married in 1973 in Selden, Madison, where they've lived ever since. He had a career for over 40 years as a material manager in the hospital industry before he retired. Spent most of his career as materials manager for Chilton Memorial Hospital in Pompton Plains. He served our country in the 78th Division of the United States Army Reserve for 31 years, stationed in Mount Freedom, New Jersey base. He attained the rank of Sergeant Major. He was a lifelong student of American history, especially Civil War. He was very proud of the fact that his great-grandfather served in the Union Army during the Civil War. Roger was active parishioner at St. Vincent Martyr Church, and also a longtime member of the Knights of Columbus at Madison Florham Park, and where he was a past Grand Knight. We also remember Maud Elizabeth Betty Severson, who died on December 19th at the age of 98. She is the grandmother of Madison police officer Renato Capillas. Born in 1925 in the town of Glen Campbell, Pennsylvania, her journey led her to New Jersey, where she lived until her passing at her home in Ledgewood. She was survived by her son, John, her 4 grandchildren, another John, Tricia, of course Renato, and Eric, and daughter-in-law, Amelia. She was predeceased by her husband, Albert. She was raised as an only child, and very impressive for considering when she went to college, and earned a BA in biological science from Purdue University, and went on to be a lab assistant at the University of Pittsburgh from 50 to 51 for Dr. Jonas Salk. People will remember that name because of the polio vaccine. She lived in Baltimore for a short time until her marriage, and then to New York, to Scotch Plains, and then settling in the area. And we also remember Olympia Lee Howard of Morris Township, formerly of Bloomfield, and Glen Ridge, passed away at 90 this Thursday, January 18th, at her home after a battle with cancer. She spent her last days with her devoted husband of 7 years, Bob, and her precious daughter, Sandy Emmerich, who is our personnel director for the borough. And she also leaves her son, Robert, in Naples, Florida, who was at her side. She was a wonderful, loving wife, mother, and grandmother, and great-grandmother. She was compassionate beyond measure, incredible devotion to her family and grandchildren. She devoted her life to her husband and her children, and exemplified the definition of mother, and personified friend to her children.
as was noted in her obituary. And was happiest when she was sitting with the kids, enjoying each other's company. She's survived by her sister, Vincenza, 2 children, Sandy and Robert, the 4 grandchildren, and 3 great-grandchildren. And we also remember Walter John Higginbotham, who passed away at his home in Madison January 13th, at the age of 84. Born in Neptune, lived in Asbury Park, and has been in Madison for the past 61 years. Graduated from Asbury Park High School, and in 1973 he earned a Bachelor of Arts degree from Fairleigh Dickinson University, worked for JCP&L in Morristown, where he met the love of his life, Marie. In 1960, they were met in 60 and married in 62. Worked as an accountant for 36 years until he retired in 95. He also served our country in the Army. He was a gifted athlete. John was involved in Madison football and was an avid golfer. He also volunteered at the Madison Community Garden, a member of St. Vincent Martyr Parish, and after his retirement, he helped people with taxes, and he loved all the relationship he formed with his clients. He was survived by his wife of 61 years, and children, Michelle, Christopher, Jonathan, Cheryl, and Jeffrey, and their respective spouses, as well as 7 grandchildren, and his first great-grandchildren to be born next month. So let us take a moment to remember Roger Snyder, Betty Silverson, Lee Howard, and Walter Higginbotham, and let us pass our thoughts on to the families and friends that they leave behind. Thank you. We can have a motion for the executive minutes of December 11th and January 8th, December 11th, 2023, and January 8th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Has already been discussed in executive. All in favor?
Aye.
And a motion to approve the regular minutes of December 11th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
We had a correction on that. It was noted in spots. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And a motion for the regular minutes of January 8th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion, corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
And welcome all. Coach Sears. And we survived the cold, and just a reminder for those that were complaining that it is January and this is the way it's supposed to be. So just put on, don't forget your gloves, your hat, and a warm coat, and we can get through it. And warmer weather is coming later this week. Yesterday I attended the reception for the opening of Museum Early Trade and Crafts' newest special exhibit called Booked 18, Seeing exhibit, which is a collaboration with Book Arts Roundtable. As noted in the invitation, seeing is a play on words, and seeing is C/ING, aimed at drawing visitors into a deeper connection and understanding of the book arts. I highly recommend the exhibit. I saw Eric there, and others probably were there also at different times yesterday. And I'm going to come down and do a couple of presentations here. Hello? There we go. Try this again. Can I get Alex Dela Cruz coming up and your members of your the YMCA Youth and Government group? So we're kind of facing the audience and facing the cameras. And our Youth in Government program at the Y, which many people know, I spent just a few years there working, is preparing the next round of leaders, whether it's at a local level, state level, or federal level. And the more they learn, the earlier they learn, the better off we will be. Lord knows I need a succession plan, so we're hoping that this is the beginning of it. But tonight you will see local government in action as we talk, and that is in action as in two words, not one word. As we discuss the budget, approve a few ordinances and some resolutions. So on behalf of the Borough of Madison, this is a certificate to Madison Area YMCA Youth in Government for commitment to civic engagement.
Thank you so much for the opportunity for us to come and visit. I know this is our first time here, so it's really great to see how everything works in person, especially if you've never seen it before. I definitely want to thank all the council members and thank you, Mayor Bob, for having the opportunity to come over here. A little about our program. So we have two different ones. We have our Teen Leaders Club and we have our Youth in Government program. So Teen Leaders really focuses on volunteer opportunities and community service all around the community in Chatham, Madison, Florham Park, and we have about 50 to 60 students in that program. And then we do have 3 students in our Youth in Government program where we focus on learning a little bit more about the government and really starting at, from the beginning and basic knowledge and stuff like that, and then working towards wanting to do a conference and do more visits like this. So thank you again so much for the opportunity, Mayor.
And since you mentioned the Leaders Club, as you may know, that being mayor of Madison is a volunteer job. I've had a life that has been really driven by volunteerism. And where did it all start? As a member of the Leaders Club at the Madison Area YMCA. I joined in 7th grade, kind of because I had a crush on a girl that was in the Leaders Club at the time, but it turned into, it was an incredible experience. It set the basis for where I am today. So thank you for all the work you do. And for those that watched our annual reorganization meeting, we know that part of that tradition is recognizing volunteers that have served on a Madison committee for at least 5 years and are stepping down. Today, we have a record one, I'm pretty sure, and until someone tells me otherwise, it will go down in the books as a record. Kathy Coltis, please come forward. This is so special that her son flew in from England just for this presentation, so welcome. And last year we recognized Kathy as a legacy hero because the legacy of Kathy's volunteerism in Madison is incredible. In 1980, she was recruited to join the what was then the Memorial Park Feasibility Study Committee, which eventually morphed into the Parks Committee. So from 1980 through December 31st, 2023, Kathy has served on the Parks Committee, guiding the great parks we have in Madison. So Kathy, thank you so much. And this is a medallion.
Just want to thank this mayor and other mayors who have allowed me to serve on the Parks Committee. It's been a real, it's been great. We've, and some things that we're really proud of. And I'm sure that it will continue on, and thank you again.
Thank you. We have a few other medallions for volunteers that couldn't make it at our New Year's reorganization, so we will send those out there, but we already mentioned the names. But there were 2 that were overlooked There was a little glitch in our program, but we have someone in the room that had served on the Open Space, Recreation, Historic Preservation Advisory Committee from 2012 to 2023, so 12 years, and including the last few, I don't know how many years as chair, but to recognize Melissa as she transitioned from a volunteer on Open Space to volunteer as a council member. Thank you. And we have a twofer here to John Forte, who served on the Historic Preservation Commission from 2017 to 2023, so that's eight years inclusively. And very impressive here is the planning board, meets twice a month, and also certainly a key role in guiding development in Madison, and many of those years as vice chair. John Forte, Planning Board, 2008 through 2023. So you get medallion. Thank you for your work there. Okay, we will move to reports from committees. Public Safety. Council President Range.
Thank you, Mayor. From the Police Department tonight, on January 18th, Detective Sergeant Ken Shannon took part in a presentation titled Hidden in Plain Sight at the Chatham Middle School. The presentation is intended for adults who care for youth and provide an opportunity to explore trends in teen substance abuse, signs, symptoms, and lingo in an effort to raise awareness about substance abuse disorders. The event also provides resources and tools for parents to identify prevention and treatment options. Sergeant Shannon takes part in these presentations held by the U.S. DA as part of our local representative on a panel to discuss these local trends. If any parent is looking for information or resources around this topic, you can contact Sergeant Shannon at 973-593-3004. And the next day, on January 19th, Detective Mantone graduated as a DARE instructor following a 2-week in-service training. Detective Mantone will immediately be assigned to a 5th grade Madison Elementary School class to have as his own. DARE is taught to all 5th grade Madison classes by trained Madison officers and gives the kids the skills they need to avoid involvement in drugs, gangs, and violence. Congratulations to Detective Mantone. And from the fire department tonight, so far during the month of January, the fire department has responded to 17 general alarms, 11 still alarms, conducted 25 investigations, 44 medical calls for a total of 97 calls so far. The fire department would like to remind everyone that if you think you have a gas leak, to call 911. If you call PSE&G directly, they then turn around and call the Madison Fire Department, and this adds to response times. The Madison Fire Department would like to remind you, as they've seen a number of instances where homes have out-of-date smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. If these detectors in your home are older than 10 years old, it needs to be replaced. If you are a senior citizen, the fire department has a program that will replace them for you free of charge. And that program is sponsored by the American Red Cross. If you fall into that category, you can contact the fire department to set up an appointment to have your detectors swapped out. And lastly, tonight, the fire department would just like to mention that we are nearing the final stages of completing the partnership and transition with the Madison Volunteer Ambulance Corps for EMS services here in the borough. That's all tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Finance the Borough Clerk, Ms. Ehrlich.
The Tax Collector's Office reminds everyone that the first quarter of property taxes are due in a couple of days on February 1st. Property owners are reminded to mail their payment or use the online portal, which can be found at rosenet.org. The Finance Department reports on our budget tonight. While the Council has already had multiple financial presentations over the last few months, Tonight we are starting the budget process in earnest. This evening we will hear about the financial performance of our water and electric utility. We will also hear from the Electric Utility Superintendent, Jim Mattina, and our Public Works Director, Ken O'Brien. We are very lucky to have excellent, reliable, and safe electric and water services in Madison. And tonight you'll hear about what steps our utility staff are taking to maintain and improve our distribution systems. Finally, I'll add that voting on the budget is one of the most important actions that the council takes. This is a personal aside. When I ran for election in 2019, one of the things I talked to people about when I knocked doors was that we use our budget to set our priorities, and it's imperative that the council adopt a sound budget that reflects our values. If you want to know what a town values, you can look to its budget to understand what's important in Madison and every town. Okay, back to the report. Our utilities billed over $24.5 million in 2023. Our single largest budget line in the entire budget document is the procurement of electricity, which Madison buys and then distributes to our residents and businesses. You will hear this evening that the utilities performed well last year, but we have two significant issues ahead. First is that we have costly but much needed capital improvements that we must address. And second is that the cost of electricity has gone up significantly. While we won't feel that cost in 2024, we will feel it in 2025. We work hard as a governing body to be transparent and to make information available to residents. Tonight we will have the first of 4 scheduled budget presentations. At the next meeting on February 12th, we will discuss the municipal budget, and on February 26th, we will meet with the department heads. On March 11th, we will discuss the budget again and review strategic planning guidelines that guide our decision-making for the budget every year. And then on March 25th, we will have one final discussion on the budget along with the introduction of the official state budget document. The statute requires us to take a 4-week break so that all residents have the opportunity to review that budget document. And then on April 22nd, we're scheduled to have a hearing and to vote to adopt the budget. As a reminder, all of this budget information is available on the annual budget process page on RoseNet. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, and great message on the budget, and just a reminder to our students in the audience that most towns do not own their electric utilities. So what you can see tonight is you would only see in 8 other municipalities in New Jersey. And many towns don't even own their water utility, or many were forced to sell off their water utility because they didn't maintain it. That is something that Madison's been committed to, so we're never in that position of having to sell utility because we didn't do our job. So with that, we will move on to utilities.
Okay,
Councilman Alan Budis.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Thanks very much for that thorough recap too. And we're fortunate to have our department heads here tonight, so we can just commend them on some of the work they're doing around town. We don't even realize what's going on behind the scenes. From the electric utility, January 8th, there is a construction home where the crews had to go and disconnect the temporary meter after the house was demolished, but neither the homeowner or the contractor had the appropriate permits to have it done, but they did it anyway. January 10th on Waverly Place, a customer at a new downtown construction was getting water into their underground electrical service, so the electric department crews refoamed the pipe in the manhole, and it was once again watertight. We've had so much water. I guess that was the test, and we needed to tighten that up a little bit. Department crews pumped holes at the commercial district vaults. This is a biannual process. January 15th, on Academy Road, the electric department crews responded to a call of no power. The entire street was out. The cause of the outage was 2 squirrels playing on the transformer. I'm sure they don't look the same now. January 20th, the department crews responded to a call of no power again at the intersection of Central Avenue and Elmer. Approximately 75 accounts were without power. It took the electric utility 1.5 hours to restore the power. Unfortunately, Provident Bank had a different issue, so they remain without power right now, but it's being addressed, and they've been consulted by our electric utility what's required of them to get their power back up as soon as possible. The electric department continues to respond to its typical monthly activities, including service installations, demolition disconnections, streetlight repair all over town, marking out where power lines are when they're requested to, solar tie-ins as we continue to electrify the borough with solar power, and customer concerns regarding hanging wires, trees, branches, and general electric questions. Very busy every day. From the water utility, we're working with the contractor and engineering on upgrades to the B well. It's been offline now for a while. We anticipate it to be back online in the early spring, better than it's been for a long time. We flushed some hydrants on Madison Avenue water tower area for testing, and everything went well over there. We replaced the damaged hydrant from a motor vehicle accident on Ridgedale, and we replaced a water connection at 202 Park Avenue. Morris County is intending on paving Park Avenue in the spring, and we will be upgrading some of the water lines in that area before paving. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you. In Community Affairs, Ms. Honahan.
Thank you, Mayor. Downtown Development Commission held its reorganization meeting last week and also wants to let you know that the Madison Farmers Market will be reinvented for 2024. It will now be called the Madison Farm and Artisan Market and will be held on Saturdays from May 25th through December 14th in the Prospect Street parking lot from 10 to 3. The hope is that the new format will allow for greater participation closer to the heart of Madison. More information will be coming by the end of this month. Mark your calendars. The Taste of Madison returns to the Madison Hotel on Monday, March 18th. More information will become available over time. Chamber of Commerce, after the holidays party, will be held this Wednesday, January 24th at 6 p.m. in Encore Speakeasy at Shanghai Jazz. It's in the basement there. There's no admission fee, and food and drinks will be available for purchase. There's also a brand new downtown event called the Rose City Chocolate Walk. This event will be held on Saturday, February 10th, and will kick off at 1 p.m. Local businesses will provide shoppers with chocolate products as they shop, dine, and discover the best Madison has to offer. The Museum of Early Trades and Crafts will have 2 chocolate making sessions, one at 1 o'clock and the other at 2:30, and the cost will be $10 per family. In addition, there will be 2 screenings of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory at the Madison Community House at 1 and 3. And as was discussed, it's the one everyone likes, the old movie. And the Madison Community Arts Center, the Madison Arts and Cultural Alliance will hold its Madison Broadway Cabaret fundraiser from 4 to 6 this Sunday. Tickets are available and can be purchased online. The new literary arts organization, Yes and, will hold its first workshop and open mic of the year this Wednesday starting at 6. Isabel Gonzalez, the Dodge Foundation Poetry Festival creative officer, leads this program. Spotlight Kids will hold a weekend workshop on January 26th through 28th featuring prominent Broadway actors presenting workshops and demonstrations. A Work of Heart Productions will hold a Bringing Broadway Home concert on Saturday, February 3rd from 7 to 9. The Summit Film Society will screen the French film Driving Madeleine on Friday, February 2nd at 2 p.m. and at 7:30. The New Jersey Jazz Society will present the Lance Bryant Trio on Sunday, February 4th at 3. And later on that same day at 6 p.m., Arts by the People will present the launch of a new book, Grand Street Revisited, by Paul Rabinowitz and Anna Hirschenau. Events for the entire year can be viewed on madisonartsnj.org. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And Health, and if you have Bob's report for Public Works and Engineering, Councilman Forte.
Sure, thank you, Mayor. From Public Works Department, we had a minor snowstorm last week and we did not have any major breakdowns. Our mechanical staff worked hard on maintenance and our equipment, and that was a major factor in not having any breakdowns. We had a tremendous amount of rain in the last couple of weeks, and the sewer department was in overnight cleaning drains and maintaining the pump stations. With the upgrades we have been doing on the pump stations, we're handling high flow times much better and are seeing less emergencies. Christmas tree pickup continues until the end of the month. Please put your Christmas trees out on the curb, and we'll be around to pick them up. Residents can also drop off Christmas trees only at the recycling center during normal operating hours. And from the health department had their reorganization meeting last week, and there's an important message from the health department. Radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer, and the state of lung cancer report reveals that it is detected at high levels in about 10% of homes in New Jersey. During January, for National Radon Action Month, the American Lung Association in New Jersey is urging everyone to help save lives by testing their home for radon and mitigating the high levels detected. Madison did post on our Facebook page information about National Radon Action Month. And you can get more information at www.epa.gov/radon/national-radon-action-month-information. I also want to just mention I am the liaison to the YMCA, and I'm very happy to see representation from the Youth in Government program here tonight. And I spoke to them back in, I think it was November. We gave a presentation, and I told them that I started in the Youth in Government program when I was in high school. So I think it's great to see them here, and I told them you'll never know where you'll end up or where you'll go beginning where you're at today. So welcome.
Thank you very much. Now move on to communications and petitions.
Yes, Mayor. Mayor and Council received an email dated January the 19th from resident David Steckity regarding Frank Iannarone's participation in MASA. That's the Madison Alliance Addressing Substance.
Thank you.
Yeah. Abuse. There you go. Thank you.
And now we're on to our first of two invitations for public comment. This one is limited to our agenda discussion items and also the resolutions, which I'll go through. So our agenda discussion items are the Green Acres, Jake's Law, Dodge Field All Accessible Playground funding application. That actually is a hearing, so after the presentation you can comment on it at that point. So you don't need to comment now if you are a little bashful, but you can comment on the budget hearing. And the resolutions you may comment on, and this will also be part of the consent agenda, which will be approved at the end of the meeting, so you're aware of what's in the consent. Resolution 51 is authorizing continuation electric utility rebate program for 2024, and this is for those that are eligible. Support of $200 for one-time credit to electric utility. Resolution 52 is final payment and change order request from MAC Group LLC for the amount of $16,739, bringing the total authorized payment to $513,297 for the library roof restoration. This was funded through Ordinance 18-2017 and Ordinance 40-22. Resolution 53 is approving use of the community pool parking lot by the adult school at Chatham's, Chatham's, Madison, and Florham Park on March 20th, April 18th, May 9th, and May 22nd. Those are all before the pool opens up. Resolution 54 is authorizing the appointment of Michael Guerriero to the position of truck driver in the Public Works Department, an annual salary of $56,996, in line with the collective bargaining agreement. Resolution 55 is appointment of Chelsea Taylor to the position of office assistant in the Office of Water Electric Utility, annual salary $52,000, pending all clearances. Resolution 56 is the enabling resolution for Green Acres program, plus an additional Green Acres grant, $6,636,767. Resolution 57 is raffle license applications for St. Vincent Martyr Church on March 8th and 9th. Resolution 58 is endorsing and supporting a Big Read project grant application submitted by the Museum of Early Trades and Crafts for the purpose of community-wide Big Read program. And this truly is community-wide, including the library and Drew University and others. Resolution 59 is approving raffle license application for the Covenant House, New Jersey, Inc., for March 15th. So you may comment on those resolutions or the 2 agenda items. If you wish to comment on any of those, please step up to the lectern, state your name and address, and then the agenda item or resolution you're commenting on, and try to keep your comments to 3 minutes, but we do give you a 1-minute grace period. Welcome, Ostry.
I'm Ostry Bailey, 54 East Lane, Madison, and tonight I'm here to support the Green Acres Jake's Law Dodge Field All Accessible Playground Funding application. This is something, when I sat on council where you were, was near and dear to my heart. I helped with the first playground renovation, and it's time to do it again, but this time we're talking about an all-inclusive ADA compatible, fully compliant playground for Dodge Field. The current playground at Dodge Field is really the only playground here in Madison except for the schools, and it is old and tired. With this grant, we could build a new playground for all children in Madison and the area. An all-inclusive playground allows for all children, despite their handicaps, to enjoy playground and being outside. Right now, the only all-inclusive ADA compliant playground is approximately 8 miles from here. So it is time to upgrade our playground. Please support this grant application. I attended the workshop. I've participated in helping put the grant together, and I really believe Green Acres wants to give money to us to do this. So please support it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments on that and all your work also, and probably felt a little funny to be standing there facing this direction. Deb, welcome.
Deb Starker, 30 Beverly Road, Madison. I just actually want to say thank you, first of all, for your early support of this project. This is a National Endowment for the Arts grant for a community-based Big Read project. And what's really unique about this is that it's involving so many different players in the community. The Museum of Early Trades and Crafts, we are the lead organization. I'm writing the grant, which is due Wednesday. Drew University's Writing Collaborative Project, Shakespeare Theater of New Jersey, the Madison Public Library, Nature of Reading Books, which is the new bookstore right across the street from the museum, and Dewey's Comics, which is the newest business to come back to Madison. So this is a community-wide collaborative effort. It just promotes so much. It supports literacy, it supports communication, it supports the community, and it's very competitive. I think they only fund about 35% of the grants nationally that are applied. So having the support of the council prior to even submitting the grant is really huge. I just wanted to thank you for that. And the book that we're doing, by the way, is Station 11, written by Emily St. John Mandel. And if you haven't read it, just read the synopsis and you'll understand why we chose that book and how it resonates with Madison as a community. There's just so many wonderful opportunities. So thank you for your support.
Thank you for your work on this, and looking forward to, hopefully this resolution will put you over the top, and we'll see that great. Anyone else wishing to comment on the agenda items or resolutions that are on the consent? Seeing none, I close this part of the meeting, and we now move on to our agenda discussions. And as noted, our first one is the Green Acres Jake's Law Dodge Field All Accessible Playground. Ms. Harrington, thank you for covering this.
Well, thank you, Mayor, council members. It's a real pleasure to be here tonight to talk to you about this grant opportunity and the redevelopment of Dodge Field Playground. The grant opportunity we have tonight, or that we will be applying for, was under Jake's Law, and it's administered by the Green Acres program. Initially, it was offered only to counties, but in the fourth quarter, I believe, of this past year, it was made available to municipalities. The borough was very well placed in order to get the grant application in order and meet the deadlines in early February. One of the requirements of the grant application is to hold a public hearing, which is being fulfilled by our meeting this evening. The grant would fund 75% of the eligible project costs. This project is estimated at $690,000, which means that the grant that we would be applying for would be north of $500,000. The existing conditions at the playground, as Ms. Bailey had mentioned, are less than ideal. The surfacing is compacted earth and wood chips. Playground equipment, I believe, was last reconstructed about 20 years ago, so it is out of date. It doesn't meet current accessibility needs and requirements. It doesn't provide an inclusionary type of experience for those with varying disabilities, not just mobility, but hearing impaired, sight impaired, other sensory types of issues. The proposed playground will do just that. The concept plan was developed over the course of a couple of years. We had a previous grant application which was not funded. And the idea was to fund it totally with the Recreation and Open Space program from the borough. We have worked with several equipment suppliers and designers. They provide the graphics and the concept plans. A group of us visited various local playgrounds to get some ideas on the types of equipment that are popular now and the surfacing that's available, which I think we're all familiar with, the rubberized resilient surfacing. It's similar to a running track, but it's got more of a bounce to it for fall protection. And that was the vast majority of playgrounds that we visited, had the rubberized resilient surfacing. The concept plan includes traditional equipment, swings, slides, climbing apparatus, but it also incorporates interactive play with sensory features, such as musical instruments, agility things, games, tactile things for the children to participate in, not just the physical aspects of it, but the entire sensory experience. One of the requirements of the grant application is also to discuss the environmental impacts of the proposed playground, the proposed improvements. And as a developed site, the environmental impacts are very minimal. The proposed plan does require the removal of 3 existing trees, and it will require excavation of the existing surface to install the new play surface, which would be several hundred cubic yards of earth removal. So the environmental impact would be during construction with truck traffic, noise from standard traditional construction equipment, possible dust generation. Nothing more than a typical construction site, as well as, of course, the demolition of the existing equipment. Construction is estimated to take approximately 10 weeks, and with the grant application, we understand the decision should be made by July 1st, I believe, late June or July 1st. So we would hope to be in construction in the middle of the summer and finish. Well, we need to get it done before the next cold snap. I talked to you on a January 22nd evening when it's 25 degrees, but the last construction item is the installation of the rubberized surface, which is temperature sensitive, so that needs to be installed when it's still 40 to 50 degrees at the minimum. One of the benefits of reconstruction of the playground is the existing surface is a compacted earth surface and doesn't promote any infiltration or recharge of the aquifer. The new play surface will, after the excavation, will have a placement of crushed stone underlayer, a base layer, and then a permeable rubber resilient surface, which allow water to percolate, travel through that, and recharge the groundwater rather than running off as it mostly does today with the compacted earth surface. As I said, it's been 20 years. You know, it's lived its useful life, and it's time for an upgrade. Mayor, that's my presentation on Dodge Field and Jake's Law grant application.
All right, before we have council comment, I'll open the hearing to the public, as this is a hearing as mentioned before. So anyone else in the public, we've had one comment already, but anyone in the public that wishes to comment on this project or ask questions, please step forward with the same guidelines, state your name and address, and write the same on the clipboard. And
hi, I'm Sue Whitehorn, 12 Vinton Road, Madison. I am the mother of a small 18-year-old special needs child who loves nothing more than to play on playgrounds. We were part of the crew that went looking at playgrounds in the New Jersey. We went to Wayne, we went to Newark, and Katie climbed on everything, ran around, and gave her 2 cents on what she thought was the best equipment to play on. But we have lots of friends in town, many of which are a few in wheelchairs, others, you know, are very awkward in moving, and they can't go to playground, they can't go to Dodge Field, they can't go to the Central Avenue because they can't manipulate the ground to go play on a playground. So this is something they would absolutely thrive with. And as it was mentioned, the closest one that we know of is in Morris County, Central Park in Morris County. It's 8 miles away. There are lots of kids. We know kids in Florent Park all over who would absolutely benefit from a completely inclusive playground. So I highly recommend you guys all give your support. I appreciate it.
thank you very much. Anyone else in the public wishing to comment on this project, please step forward.
Hi, my name is Astha. I am a resident of 31 Beverly Road. This is my first meeting, so I don't really understand how it goes, but I appreciate the opportunity. I'm accompanying Alex and Shantya from YMCA. I think listening to this project, my heart just warms up. Building an inclusive culture like this is not just going to benefit kids with special need, but also build inclusive community for next generation to see that we need to incorporate needs of all, including our children. Really +1 on this project. I hope everyone provides their support.
Thank you for your comments, and very important the fact that this is inclusive and the mingling of abled and those with challenges. Anyone else wishing to comment, please step forward. Seeing none, close the hearing, and we'll go to council comments. I'll just want to reinforce that if we were able to get this Green Acres funding, as already been mentioned, we were planning on funding this through the Open Space Recreation and Historic Preservation Trust Fund, and this would put $500,000 that has been appropriated. We would cancel that ordinance. Money would go back to the Open Space Trust Fund for possibly Drew Forest or other endeavors by the trust fund. So this would not only give us a credible park that we're already committed to, but will enable us to take on the next challenge. And to put the time factor in place, the current playground, I think that it was Councilman Jiggs Mantone that led the charge to get that playground done at that point. And I eventually took Jiggs' seat on this council, and you know I've been here forever, so it's been a long time. So, you know, it's the tradition, the legacy that Jiggs set up there will continue with this new incredible park. Other comments from the council? Tom?
Thanks, Mayor. So Dennis, I want to ask you a couple questions. Is this the design set in stone? You're not going to change it, or can you change it at all?
This is,
I know it was here from last year.
yeah, this is the way we've developed cost estimate. This has been through an iterative process, choosing equipment and locating it, fine-tuning the location. So I would say it's pretty well
set in rubber.
Set in rubber? We didn't put any pilings in yet.
No.
So it's just an observation, and I made this last year when it was first presented. I'm really happy that we're moving forward and making a change. I was involved with the Rotary when we put the first playground together 20 years ago, and we built it. A lot of us volunteers were there.
Oh, your name on the back?
On the weekends. I was very happy to help out. The father of 5, so I was spending a lot of time over there. So one observation I have, that this is also a place, like that young lady said, where the communities can get together and where we're going to spend time with our children and our friends. I don't see any benches for us to sit and congregate on.
There are some benches.
Yeah, I was looking, you can't see as I could.
There are benches in the design. We would do those as a after the fact.
Okay.
We would do those independently of the equipment installation itself.
Because if you go by the
playground, in the overall plan.
if you go by the playground that's there now, and I'm also a big advocate for a sandbox. I know that there's some schools of thought why it might not be appropriate, but that is probably the busiest part of the current playground, and it always has been a place where the parents of young children would sit and spend an hour or two there, maybe even, eating some snacks. And I don't know if there's still an opportunity for something like that.
The current guidelines for sandboxes as set forth by the Joint Insurance Fund and other things, we can't maintain a proper sandbox. So the one there probably should have been removed sooner. Things such as sifting the sand on a daily basis, covering the sandbox every night. So as it is a very much loved thing, it's going the way of risk management, and as often challenges things.
That's a shameless insurance guy. Well, all right. That's my. At least you should have a place where, and you said you will eventually, where people will just be able to sit and their children will still be able to push toys around in a controlled area, like 10 is a sandbox. I'll have crush over there.
I guarantee benches will be, we have to discuss with Zach.
I'll help you with that.
Getting the benches.
So the other thing there, I was wondering, since if we do get this grant, we still won't have enough money to fund it, maybe we want to also offer to the community some sponsorships. Like with sponsors on the last project, we raised $100,000. So they might, be surprised. People there again at one.
Yes, certainly. One thing as Rotarian, you want to take that back to the club might be very helpful to have a partner lead the way. The sponsorship, whether it's for the playground itself or some of the supplemental things such as benches or other things, would be greatly appreciated. It's as I talked in my New Year's message, that we could not accomplish the many great things we did last year and will be accomplishing this year without generous partners, and so they're always welcome.
Thanks, Dennis. Great job.
Any other comments from the council? And just as a follow-up, because I just received this just in on my wire here, the Elks have already sponsored a bench, so there's already and a solar charger, so there are some momentum has started. So, and any other? Yes.
Just a big thank you to the team at Borough Hall and also to Austri for really going forward with the grant. It could be a huge savings for our town and also make us a place to come to with other communities. So thank you for all that work.
Thank you. Any other comments?
So I do think one thing that's really nice about this is that I've witnessed Dodge Field evolve over the years. This is I don't know what iteration of the playground at Dodge Field I remember in my lifetime, but it is nice to live in a town where we do care enough to keep evolving and getting better and getting safer and getting more inclusive. And to the point about the sandbox, I actually remember as a kid, Dodge Field had a small swimming pool over there, and it was probably not the safest place to be swimming because there was no lifeguard.
Just to talk about, since we brought it up, I worked for a recreation department at one point, so I was the watcher of that pool for a while, which got drained every day and refilled the next day, so it was very interesting. And the equipment with the probably 15-foot high slide that faced the sun that was always a challenge. And the one thing called the witch's hat, where I think people could, if your hands were wrong spot, would be not a good thing. And then the little merry-go-rounds that had no governor on them, so you just spun them until kids went flying. So we've come a long way. And Jimmy in the audience probably remembers a lot of those things. And of course, the old seesaw where you would have you'd have your friend up high, and then you would jump off, and you'd go crashing down and compress their vertebrae. So this will be much more safer. All right, with that, I think we can close this, and thank you very much, and we will confirm that the hearing has been held and the application can go forward. We'll now move on to our budget hearing for electric utility, water utility, and public works, and as it comes out, you will hear this common theme. Thank you, Osprey, for coming to join us. Councilwoman Rachel also mentioned that this is one of the most transparent processes of any town that I know of as part of the whole thing, whole budget process, so you'll have a good understanding. Of course, we do this for multiple reasons. One, so as the council approves the budget, they know exactly what's in it, but it's also a chance for us to tell the town what was accomplished last year and what our goals for the next year and how how our resources are being spent. So with that, our CFO, Jim Burnett.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to go through a number of these slides quickly. They're really there for people who maybe want to read a little more. This talks about the agenda for the evening. Ken and Jim and Tina are going to be here, and then we're going to talk about the finances of the water and electric utility. I'm going to go to the next slide, Michael. Transparency, as you mentioned, and as Councilwoman Ehrlich mentioned, is important, and we have an annual budget process page on RoseNet that's really built up significantly over the years. There's a lot of great historical data in it. Next slide. This proposed schedule was mentioned by Councilwoman Ehrlich at the last council meeting. It's posted on that annual budget process page on RoseNet. Tonight, Public Works, Electric Utility, and Water Utility. And then February 12th, in 3 weeks, we'll do the initial municipal budget. And from there, we'll continue down the path to hopefully getting to a budget introduction in March. Next slide just shows the breakdown of the tax bill, which I always think is important to explain to people, along with the 10-year increase, which is the table there showing the increase of the county, the increase of school, and the increase of the municipal or borough portion of the budget. Next slide, I'm going to introduce my esteemed colleague, Mr. Ken O'Brien, to come up here and talk.
Good evening, council members. Thank you for having me. One thing on the agenda that was approved tonight, the consent agenda, was a couple of new hires, one on Public Works and Water, and I appreciate that, and thank you very much. We're getting up to a significant staffing level now. We've lost in the last 5 years quite a few employees due to various reasons, and so we're finally ramping up and getting the manpower that we need to do that. A couple things we want to talk about if you want to go through the budget a little bit. Work with Jim quite a bit on the budget. Sometimes we have a little budget hearing here at Town Hall committee room, but that doesn't account for all the phone calls and emails back and forth from Mr. Burnett asking me some questions about the budget. What are we doing with this number? What are we doing? So we're always shuffling it around. You know, I help with the shade tree budget, water department, sewer department, public works, roads. So it's all encompassing. So this is a brief part of it, but a lot goes on behind the scenes on a regular basis. Michael, next slide. So these are some of the accomplishments we took care of, right? We did Memorial Park Bridge, re-chipped stone down various walking paths all around town. That was a project we did in the fall. We worked on the styrofoam recycling, as you know, with both Chathams. We have an agreement with Long Hill. We had a third option, which was take it to the private sector. However, that market dried up. So now we're kind of locked in right now with Long Hill. And if that should change, you know, we're always looking at that market. But I was bringing it to two different places at one time. I didn't want to be locked into one particular place, but now we're back to that. So we'll work on that. We're doing a new pedestrian signs. I think you've seen them all. You've all approved them on the various consent agendas. You know, the signalization for that. And Civic Center is, you know, the old Civic Center, we took some of the trees and bushes and we planted them around various areas. Some of them over at the train station. And they needed some tender loving care, and that was, you know, certainly helped with the garden club, which was nice. Michael? And So for next year, we're going to continue to have a safe working environment. We look at EVs and how to reduce our carbon footprint. We assist with upgrades in the police and firing range. That's almost done. We're going to be moving some storage boxes. That area flooded. I'm not sure which storm, but it flooded, and some of the stuff got damaged there. You know, some targets and stuff. So we elevated those up, and we elevated them up for a 100-year flood. So we're just hoping not to have another 100-year flood. Which happens on a fairly regular basis now. We still do all our training. You know, we buy steel-toe boots for the guys, reinforced boots. We do all that. We provide safety vests, safety equipment all the time. They ask for something. Sometimes the guys will see something, you know, maybe online, and they talk to us about it. And if it's something we feel that fits into it, safety-wise, we purchase it. We're working on Public Works garage. You know, at some point, we're probably going to put solar on the roof there. But in order to get to that process, it's been involved. So the building is an older building. It was built in the 1950s. We had to look to see whether the electrical system could handle it. If the electrical system needed to be upgraded, what was going to be involved in it. We hired a private contractor to come in and tell us, you know, the kind of voltage and the kind of systems we would have, and he gave us options. And so there was a lot involved in it. So that's progressing, right? So now we have truss construction down there, and we have an older roof. So we just noticed in that some of the trusses were not in great shape. So now we have a guy coming in and gave us an idea of how to fix the truss. And we've fixed them before, but now we know that instead of one here and one there, we probably should fix 4 or 5 of the truss if it's going to be supporting more. So then we'll go ahead with the solar panel. It's not that that's the driving thing, but it just didn't, you know, in the end of the game, think that was what we were going to do was put that up there and then maybe have a problem with the truss. So it's all, I'm going to say, behind the scenes prep work is kind of what we're doing to get there. But we'll get there. We'll get there. And I think that our roof and our line and our public works facility, we just had a meeting not long ago, and we talked about possibly putting it with a level 3 charger down there. I think that'd probably be a good spot for it. We can find it off on the back of the wire lane, so that's a little bit more useful to the public, and we'll continue to do that. And then we have capital work projects meetings, and starting this year, we're going to start bringing that to a new level. As you know, Mr. Vogel's retiring, and so engineering is kind of a big part of what we do, whether it's water, sewer, parks. So we'll be bringing in supervisors to those meetings now, which are kind of the hands-on guys a little bit, instead of just having it done by myself. And they'll be able to give us a little bit of feedback. So going forward, when we're making some decisions, we'll have a little bit more knowledge. And that's mainly because, just, you know, Bob's been here for 25 years, whatever it is, and him coming out of the loop a little bit, we're losing some knowledge. So we're going to try to rotate some more supervisors into those meetings on a every other weekly basis. And I'm just waiting for Michael to hit the gong at some point, so that's on my mind right now. So I think the Be Well and everything like that, if you look at the chronology of the well development, that's where we're at with everything. And we're constantly working this year, Well B, which is a significant well for us that pumps a lot of water, so that's why it's on our front burner to make sure we have it up and operationally. April, May at the latest. So it pumps a lot of water, and we use a lot of water in Madison in the warm months. So a couple things I want to talk about before we go ahead. Let me ask you questions first. See if any particular topics come up.
One's off. Uh-oh.
You're going to need the microphone, please.
Yeah. So I was going to actually ask you about electrifying the building. You know, once I didn't know you had to shore up some of the roof structure a little bit, but that's probably great for the long term.
We don't know how involved it'll be, but we have a company that does truss construction came out to start talking to us about it.
Sure. And then I guess you guys are going to do an assessment. I'm sure Jim's going to be very involved in that, about how much power you can bring if you can actually cover everything that the building uses. You have your public works garage there, so there's
in the maintenance facility for the mechanics.
Yeah, right. Yep. So there's a lot going on there, but I think you could probably cover a lot of it.
Yeah, mathematically, I don't know exactly
no.
charging is, but
it's a big roof area, right?
You know,
So then,
working on that for us.
So then if you do that, and this is part of the climate action plan, which we've discussed, we can actually electrify some of the equipment that you're using, whether it's blowers, you're gonna have a new electric lawnmower, so you won't power it from the grid, maybe you'll be able to charge it from there, get a battery pack.
And that's all gonna develop over time. As we get solar, when we get this electric mower, we're gonna have a charging system on the vehicle. It'll probably have some solar panels, not right away, but then, when that vehicle is being used during the day or parked in the afternoons, those solar panels will be charging the electric mower, the batteries.
Brilliant.
That's the idea.
That's fantastic. Okay, that's it. Thanks. Thanks so much, Ken. There's a lot going on over there.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Rachel?
Thanks for the presentation, Ken. Just a minor clarification. On the capital slide, where the zero-turn mower is listed for 2024, is this the same mower that we talked about last year, or is this another mower?
No, this would be another mower. So, buying an electric mower, which is, a significant cost, I'd like to see it perform. So I have to balance that, and that might not be what the Climate Action Committee thinks, but my concern is that if we start having problems into the mowing season with the electric mower we have, and I buy another one, I don't want to put us in a position where there's not much of an alternative. So we're going to look at some other mowers, because if the electric mower is a problem or something happens, it's new technology, which we're doing. I just don't want to be in a position of not being able to get the grass mowed for that.
But just to clarify, the department's already taken possession of one of them?
Yeah.
And
it actually hasn't been delivered. It's on order. The purchase order's out. It's a fully electric mower.
Yes.
We demoed it. It's in transit. It'll be delivered by spring for sure. I think there's a backlash or something. They won't deliver until it's completed.
So then the second purchase, which is at least projected for as early as this year, is it because there's another gas mower that's going out of service that you need to replace?
Gas mowers are very old, so we always want to have something there. If we should have a catastrophic failure with one, there's something in the capital budget that if we had to do it. We don't always do it, but it's in there, and we know that with the electric mower, there's a lot of unknowns. So I just want to make sure that as we go along, we're still updating equipment, right? So some of the mowers are very old. They get used a lot. They get used every day from, May till the fall, right? And so now we're also mulching leaves quite a bit, so we're doing that much further into the fall than we used to, right? For the cut and leave it program. So we're using the mowers much, but I'm fine with the electric mower. I just don't want to be at the point where all of a sudden now we're having a problem where we're down a mower.
Sure. I just wanted to clarify that this would be for a second mower and that you're looking to diversify the equipment, it sounds like, maybe with a different manufacturer.
Yes.
What you're getting at. Okay.
Yeah, and the manufacturer, we're buying the electric one for, I forget the name of the Tink or something. It's a national manufacturer. It's not something that was built in someone's garage and we're buying.
Sure. Okay, thanks for that information, and I'm sure we're all eagerly awaiting your review when you can take delivery of your first one this year, so thank you for that.
We'll have demos and we'll have it out on a Saturday for people to see.
It'll be the quietest one out there.
That's right.
Yeah, we were, and I take it your concern is not just the long-term reliability, or not just the short-term reliability, because we'll find that out fairly quickly, but concerned about long-term. But I would, to reinforce some of Rachel's questions, is depending on the timing of the purchase of this zero-turn, not only do we know the reliability of our electric one we just purchased, but there's certainly others out there that we could be looking at to see how their reliability is.
Yeah, and the machine itself is not what I'm more concerned about. I'm more concerned about the batteries. Sometimes there's hiccups with batteries or some kind of recall or something happens, and next thing I know, I got to send the batteries out for a recall or something, and then I don't have batteries to run the machine. And I just don't want to really be in that position. But I think you'll see that we're electrifying more and more equipment, more and more of it's coming. We're in tune with what's happening and the way we want to go in progression. So we look at everything. And on final, I think I'd like to just talk about. I mean, that's if you don't have any more questions.
Any more questions for Ken?
I think my question's going to depend on what Ken says next.
Let's ask your question first.
No pressure, Ken, but...
Ken, I think one of the things in your accomplishments for 2023 that DPW does a phenomenal job here in the borough and is working long hours to plow snow and collect leaves and all like that. But I think one of the things that I think we all observed, but I'll speak for myself as a potential shortcoming this year, was the leaf collection and how we handled that this year, which didn't seem like it was up to the standard of previous years. So I'm just curious if there's any reflection on that, or plan moving forward to adjust for 2024, so we don't find ourselves in the same situation we were in this year.
Yeah, so I take responsibility myself. I lead the department. It stops with me. I'm at the top of the organization, and I made the decision that I felt that the municipality and the residents had the appetite to pick up leaves twice and get the entire town done, rather than using all the fuel and the manpower and everything that goes into it, rather than going around time after time after time and going down some streets that were little or no leaves on them. So I made the decision by myself that if we started a little bit less, a little bit later, right, we would pick up the same amount of leaves, get it done in 2 weeks. We know it takes us about 2 weeks to get around the town, that we would burn less fuel, we'd use less manpower. We had less manpower. We've already hired 3 or 4 people now. Those are 3 or 4 people we didn't have last year. We were doing water projects. We had someone retiring from the water department. We had an employee retired from Public Works that used to do a lot of the running around. So you're looking at the guy who made the decision to delay our leaf pickup, and I take responsibility because I thought we had the appetite to say, okay, a leaf pile in front of my house is going to be an okay thing, but I know the long game is going to get there. That message either wasn't carried, and now I know that really we're going to work extra hard and we're going to start leaf season much earlier. It's not what I think is mathematically or the best way to do it, because if you want to talk about the environment and burning diesel fuel and manpower, you can't be driving around in October picking up leaves. But I understood. I heard the municipality loud and clear. I read on Facebook. I'm on Facebook. I read the comments. We got the phone calls. It comes down to Ken. I made that decision. We will, before Thanksgiving, right, it's a very important time, we'll be out 10 hours a day. We'll be out Saturdays. We will pick up all the leaves in this town coming into the Thanksgiving weekend. I know that now. It was a misfire on my part, right? But I'm telling you, it bared on me, because I didn't ask the men, I didn't ask the staff of Public Works. I took that decision as though, okay, we're going to get done. We know we're going to get done by Christmas anyway. We know the week before Christmas, it's done every year. It happens every year. Look, I've been in this business long enough to know. But now I know that that's not necessarily true. So we're going to be out there. We're going to work for it. We'll put a schedule together. We worked overtime. We'll work overtime for leaf season coming into Thanksgiving, coming into November. We'll do a schedule. We did it. The manpower wants to work. That wasn't a problem. You know, we put the hours in. That's not the problem.
No, we appreciate you taking responsibility and sharing with the residents how it was managed this year and how you want to approach it next year. And I don't want to get into the weeds or the leaves, but the leaves. I think there is a hybrid. Tom would be very quick to say Pomeroy Road needs more attention. I live on Britton Street. We got collected once. You know what? That's all we need. And so I think it is a matter of managing based on the need of the neighborhood. I use my lawnmower. I put it in my barrel. I put it out, and it's only once or twice that I have to cart leaves out to the curb. So it's really my neighborhood was fine, and another neighborhood wasn't. So I think that's the way we need to approach it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ken. Appreciate it.
Any other questions or comments?
The one thing I just want to quick, I know you guys have seen some bricks raised in the center of town on Main Street. If you see, that was from Frost Heave. A little information about that in the last deep cold we've had the last few days, they've heaved. But if you notice, they're on the side of the road that's usually shaded. The side of the road that's got no shade, the Burnett side of the road, right? The bricks always dry up quite a bit, and there's very little heaving over there. It's because of that. Those bricks will go back down as the temperature rises this week and the rain comes down. They will naturally fall back. It happened years ago, and it actually went right back into place. That's why we just have it coned off as a tripping hazard. It's kind of unique, but that's why it's on the shaded side.
Thank you for bringing that up, and
And to remember Sam Cerciello, former council member, he would be talking about all sorts of things about the pavers, but we won't get into those weeds. Yeah. But yes, they will settle back. Yeah. All right.
All right.
Jim?
Now I'll turn it over to,
There you go.
I'm going to turn it over to the second most important utility in the borough.
Well, first thing I'm going to say, I use battery tools. We have chainsaws with batteries. We have blowers with batteries. So, just saying. All right, let's see what we have here. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you again. 2023 accomplishments. We replaced all the old poles and transform as needed. We installed a new pole and transformers at 218 Main Street. That's Rosewood Condomins. We reconstructed the Ridgedale Avenue and the Walnut Tie Point, and still in progress. We are reworking the tie point at Cook Avenue and Ridgedale. It's a three-phase. We built a three-phase bank for the Starbucks on Main Street. We upgraded the west side of Waverly Place with 500 copper wire. We replaced a motor that went bad in Main Street underground vault. That was a big job. And we ordered the capacitor banks for Jersey Central power and light requirements. They should be in this summer. And we had the interns help us out to install new stone and gravel at James Park Substation. And we completed the 2023 line clearance this year. And the goals and objectives. Like I said last year, we're ordering backup transformers for Hartley Dodge Memorial, the Public Safety Building, the Madison Recreation, Madison Library, Madison High School, Madison Junior School, and the Central Avenue School. We have no backup transformers for them, so they're on order. Madison Green Condos, that's going to sit back for a while. We're going to be talking about a lot of relays here, so continue upgrading our tie points is very important. James Park, we got to install an oil circulation system on the transformers. That's to keep the oil clean. James Park, we got to replace relays on the 34th side. We already did the 12.5 side, just two different sides. So half of it's done. Kings Road Substation, we should be starting next month. We already got the relays in, and they're doing some custom work. And so that should be starting next month, I hope. James Park and Kings Road Substation, we did an arc flash study. We had to buy arc flash suits. So when we go to the substation to do some switching, now you got to wear the whole suit by law. Like Ken says, that Water Well B is a big water station. And we are going to install a brand new transformer there that we have. We already replaced 3 poles, and we have the underground wire for it once we're ready to go. We ran a new fiber line between the 2 substations, Kings Road and James Park. With that fiber line, you can do a lot with now. It took us 5 years to get that done. I mean, we just never had a chance to do it. And our training, we do bucket truck training, bucket truck rescue, pole top rescue, substation arc flash, CPR. And our new employees are in a Northwest Lineman College certification program, and they're for apprentices and second-class linemen. Ongoing activities.
I think for the most part on this one, we'll just
this
make that a slide available for the public, and we can go on to the next one. I don't want you to go longer.
That's right. That's right.
Than Ken did. This is a competition.
I'm trying to beat him out here. Special projects. Like I said, James Park Substation relays, Kings Road relays, tie points. This is the big thing we got to do for the next couple of years is changing all the relays out and upgrading our tie points. Very crucial. Next one, Michael. Upcoming projects. 5 Central Avenue, that's backordered right now. 25 Green Village Road, a couple houses in there. 14 Lincoln Place, it's completed on our side, the electric's all hooked up. 18 Madison Avenue, still in progress. 120 Madison Avenue, the mosque. We ran the temporary, we had to build a whole bank of transformers for their temporary, so it's gonna be a big place. Yeah, that's just a temporary. 98 Main Street, they're out of power. Their transformer blew up last night, so they have no power. We're trying to help them out, whatever we can do. 294 Main Street, Madison Mall Apartments. The project's going pretty well. 300 Main Street, we did an EV charger station. 15 Prospect Street, the old Weicker building. And 28 Walnut Street, Community Place Affordable Housing Project. We hooked up their temporary last week. So we're on our way with that. Been in contact with them almost every day. All right. With 2024, I have a digger derrick truck. It's a Unit 131. It's a 1989. It's 35 years old. We're still using it, but I think it's time to look into maybe trying to get another one. If you go down a little bit, I'm still trying to get the historic pen globe fixtures for Madison train station. Once they come in, we're going to replace all them. Everything is completed with LED fixtures. Dodgefield lighting, that's not me. Reserve funding, substation repairs, $300,000, that's Jim Burnett. The SCADA system, that's what we're going to be doing. Substation relay project, we're in the process of doing that, and our flash. So the next one is the big one here. We sat down with my electrical engineer, consultant engineer, and went over these, and really, the more we think about it, this project is really important, and we must complete this project because, I mean, you got a lot to read, and you probably don't understand a lot of it, but these relays do protect us out in the field, and they protect the switchgear in the substation. If a relay goes bad, you could blow up half of the substation, and it'll cost you millions of dollars to fix it. So relays are very important. Plus, we have relays that are burning up now at Kings Road. That's why I'm in a rush to try to replace these. So with that, this project will replace all of our relays at Kings Road and James Park. So these relays will provide more reliability, protection for equipment in the substation. And we will improve worker safety in the substation and out in the field. And I just want to touch base a little bit on the annunciator here. That's an alarm panel at the substation. And we have 2 of them now, but they're pretty old. So with the SCADA system, you're going to put that right into the system. So that's going to be upgraded. Number 4, 34.5 circuit breaker / line differential relay upgrade. 2 different things. The circuit breakers, just give you a little follow-up. We call them OCBs, and there's 2 of them. And they're in Kings Road substation yard, and they're big. And what they do is, you get 34,000 line comes in, it goes out, down Kings Road, and feeds 2 transformers at James Park. JP2, same thing, 34,000 goes in, goes out, and feeds another 2 transformers at James Park. So, they're old, and they're in great shape. But the issue with that is, if one fails, we can't get parts for it. And if that happens, you have one line now going to James Park. We have a tie up there. We could tie one line and feed all 4 transformers. But what happens if JC drops that other line? Now that whole side of town is out of power. And we could run this side with 1 line and 2 transformers. So it's a good idea to replace these with the new vacuum breakers, they're called. And it should be done. I mean, it's not. I mean, I think they were built back in the 50s. You know, it's a dinosaur, but we maintain our equipment very well. And it's maintained really good. I hate to get rid of it because it works good. But if something breaks, you're not going to get any parts for it. And now we're out.
So we're on to questions, and just a couple of clarifications. The $300,000, which you said was for Jim, it is our building up a reserve for a substation, similar to what you talked about, either for major upgrades or replacement. These are, obviously a key part of our system and a major investments. That's why we're building up reserves, especially your list of major things. The electric department's going to need, our whole grid's going to need a lot of attention in the coming years as we shift to electrification and EVs and all electric homes and buildings. And so we are committed to doing that. And in case any people in the audience or watching at home are heard this comment about Provident Bank being out, the major larger users, they actually own their transformers. So we do not, we work very closely with them to making sure it gets replaced, but it would be on them to replace it. Many years ago, I was talking to Jim earlier, we had the transformer go at the Y, probably 30 years ago, and it was on the Y to replace that, and it was a tough time as the Y ran on a generator for 3 weeks until the transformer came in. So these are things that the major users need to be on top of, and we work closely with them. So any other questions or comments?
Not a question, but I do think it's, I'm impressed by how proactive you are, and I think it's prudent, especially with a system like this, to be that proactive.
Need to be.
Yeah.
We really do. Thank you.
I mean, it's so technical.
Tom? Yep.
Yeah, sorry, Mayor, can I say something?
Yep, it's your turn.
Okay, raise my hand. Everything's so technical, it's hard for us to even, at least for me, to understand all of it. And we're lucky that you guys are there and you understand it, like the engineers that you are. So you talked a lot about relays, which is what's transferring the power from one transformer or one power line.
Well, the relays are protection.
Yeah.
And you protect all the equipment inside the substation and out on the lines. It measures current. So if the current fails and it goes down or up, that relay's going to see if there's a problem out there and trip out.
It's like a fuse breaker. But
yeah, sure.
So the new ones that you put in, I guess the technology must be much.
Yeah,
the other ones,
computers,
so they'll last forever.
Computers,
at least in
micros. Yeah, if you read it,
okay,
it's actually a computer inside there, and it does so much, so many options.
Right. So the $1 million part of your budget for all those upgrades, is that something that you want to do over time?
Yeah. If you look at it, it says years. I mean, we want to do
2024
differential relay upgrade in 2024, and but we're doing the bank breaker relays this year too. So he says he could fit this in. This is the engineer that is. And then 2025 is another transformer overcurrent relay upgrade. And then he wants to get into the SCADA system. I didn't even touch on it, did I? There's a SCADA system that's going to be in the system. So that SCADA system will be down at the Water and Light plant. And we'll have everything on a board. We can see the substation. We can actually maybe do some switching right from there. So if you have an emergency or something, a pole falls on a car, and we can't get to the substation to trip something out, we could go right there. So this technology is unbelievable. Awesome.
Okay, thanks, Jim.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you very much, Jim. Very good.
Thank you.
We're going to talk a little bit about the finances of the electric utility and the water utility. Many of you know that I have this report that I found in my dad's archives from 1944, which talks about the Borough of Madison transferring utility surplus for property tax relief. We've been doing it since at least 1944, and we continue to do it today. It's one of the tremendous benefits of owning an electric utility. Go to the next slide. You'll see a residential rate comparison. We're one of only 2 municipal electric utilities that have actually had rates drop from 2016 to 2023. Sussex Rural this year had a 19.5% increase in their utility. Atlantic City Electric is the price leader. They've gone up 21% over that time, and a bill in Madison will cost $154. A bill for Atlantic City Electric, which is a large district. It's not a small area. It's a very large area in southern New Jersey. Would be $192.71 for that same bill. Madison's right in the middle of the pack, the municipal electric utilities. Next slide, please. This is our portfolio of contracts. We've talked about this in executive session because we deal with it on a purchasing and on from a contract matter standpoint, but we always talk about it publicly every year. We are, this year is going to be the best year in terms of our electric prices, but next year and beyond, electric prices are going to be going up. We've purchased all of our electricity for 2024, 2025, 75% of it is purchased. The last being a block that we purchased back in December 2023 for $37.60, much higher than the $25 blocks that we have this year. It's inflation, it's the cost of everything, it's the fact that prices were just exceptionally low when we bought those prior contracts. We're fortunate that in 2019 and 2020 we bought 50% of our estimated load. That's those long brown blocks. We bought 50% of our load going all the way out until the end of 2029. So we have a fair amount of our electric needs hedged, if you will, going that far out. But we do need to buy one more block of energy sometime in the next 6 months. So we'll be working on that. Next slide, please. So the electric utilities financial performance was excellent this year, but there are long-term things we have to keep in mind. As I mentioned, the electric costs were very good this year, but we're anticipating a $2 million increase in electric and capacity costs in 2025. The capacity pricing in the auction won't occur until June, so we'll know more then, but indications are that that could be $1 million more. The electric costs, as I showed you before, we're going to have another block contract in the $36 range. So we could see a $2 million increase there. However, fund balance was excellent this year due to our current year costs for energy and interest income, which was significant. So administration, as we talk through the budget over the next month and a half, will advocate for using some of the extra electric utility fund balance to fully pay for the MRC carport. If you remember, we floated a bond ordinance, something we don't often do here, and we did it as a backstop for the funding. We hope to get funding from the federal government through the direct pay program. We will get funding, we believe, obviously from the Board of Public Utility for the SRECs, which Tom gets for his solar on his warehouse. The previous presentations, we've shown you that those 2 funding streams alone will pay for the entire facility. If we pay for it with fund balance now, those revenues that come in will help soften any future challenges that the electric utility has or the borough has. So it may make sense to do that. And we'll talk more about that as we unfold the budget over the coming weeks. If we go to the next slide, throwing a lot of numbers out at you, but this is a similar schedule that we see every year, and as you can see, we go back to 2018. The first line is cash collections. It's basically the billing, the amount that we received in billing. You can see we're at $21,700,000. About $21,681,000 for the year 2023. Go back to 2018, it was 23 million, or over 23 million. So energy efficiencies and other reasons, office parks not being as energized, some of them being completely offline, are all driving the reduction in cash collections. Our electric utility dividend continues to operate and function properly with over 1.8, almost $2 million that we've given back over the course of the 7 years the council has approved, and the electric utility has given back $12.2 million in dividends back to the customers for our excellent performance. Line E8 shows transmission costs, which have increased almost 400% in 6 years. We anticipate these costs will continue to increase as we will have to pay a share of the offshore wind transmission lines that are going to be installed when that project comes to fruition. They're going to be, it won't be that obvious. They're going to be going up about $150,000 a year, but every year they're going to be going up for 15 years to ultimately pay for those special transmission lines that are going to be out in the ocean and bring the energy off from the New Jersey shore into New Jersey's regional distribution grid. E13 is electric utility capital. We're recommending that we increase that because, as Jim just said, we've got a whole lot of projects coming. So in the on the expense side in the budget for 2024, if you look at line E13, that's the amount of money that we put into the capital account for Jim to purchase what he needs to and to fix things that he needs to and to buy that digger derrick truck. We're asking for an increase to bump that number up. And E18, 19, and 20 all deal with the fund balance. And we had an excellent year this year in fund balance. We're ending the year at a high in fund balance. And I think over the coming weeks, as we see the municipal budget unfold, we'll talk. But we're a little bit of the Super Bowl hitting the bottom right now, and so we're at the very lowest in terms of prices. We're at the very best in terms of fund balance. We expect costs to go up definitely next year and the year after. So having some extra fund balance will give us a cushion so we don't have to immediately take other actions like cutting the dividend or anything like that. I think if we are judicious with our fund balance usage this year, we can look to not have to kind of gradually move into the next few years, and maybe energy costs come down at that point. Maybe transmission costs aren't as bad as we thought. It is a moving market, and so we will always kind of budget conservatively. So we have a tentative budget here which shows cash collection, the dividend, miscellaneous revenue. Miscellaneous revenue, I need to increase that. I am sure that it's going to be more than $100,000 in interest income. So that'll go up the next time you see it. About that one. And then cancellation of appropriations is when we don't spend all the funds. And so the big revenue, E4, that miscellaneous revenue, that was the interest income, where we had significant increases in income. We also get electric utility connection fees now. So funds like that we used to not get a few years ago, we're now getting. So you see in that line. So if we go to the next slide, is the MRC carport, which we expect to go out to bid on this project in the next 6 weeks. I'm going to say 6 weeks. I'm hopeful. We're having a meeting tomorrow about that. It's worked out well. Tom's been asking for solar for 8 years, and now that he's my liaison to the utilities, he gets to enjoy that. So we'll talk more about that funding in the coming weeks, how I talked about using fund balance. The next slide just shows EV charging at a home, how it really changes the load and the consumption. The next one shows someone who is generating electricity. The dark bars show when electricity is being given back to the borough from their solar panels, and then the high spikes are when they're charging their electricity. And the next one is very interesting. We had a customer who blew a transformer. We didn't understand why this transformer blew until we went into their backyard and we saw that they had installed a full ice skating rink with an electric refrigerated electric refrigeration system, and it was about 38 degrees, and they were trying to make ice for Christmas. And we're like, but it's 38 degrees, but I want to skate on Christmas. So he had lights. Jimmy thought he had lights. He had boards. It was not. It's about a little, maybe a little bit smaller than this room, right, Jim? And it's impressive, but that's as much energy as he can take. You can see it just flat lines out. And his house was connected to, I believe, 2 other homes on the transformer, Jim. So somebody turned on a curling iron in another house. That was just enough for the transformer to blow. So Jim has smartly decided that anytime a transformer goes, that was, I believe, a 25 kV transformer, we're bumping it up. So that got bumped up to the next larger size transformer, figuring that there's going to be more electrification, more charges, hopefully not more ice skating rinks.
So we can host the NHL Winter Classic in
I think so.
2025.
So we'll go to the next slide. That one, I just have to say that was very unique. And the next one again, Michael. So big news, we are going to start the water meter swap out program and exchange program and the installation of the modules in probably the second week of February. So that's coming. Every resident's going to get a letter like this. When you get that letter is going to be dependent on when we read your meters. If we're reading your meter this month, we're not going to send the letter to you this month because we want to get in there, read the meter, then you'll get the letter right after we read your meter. So we've got a 2-month window where we can get in there and change it before we have to read your meter again. So there's a little bit of a balancing act on where we are and where we're doing that. But that's going to be starting in the next few weeks. We're excited about that. And one item that administration may bring, Jim Trimble's probably watching, so I should say we are going to bring to council, is that we want to implement a charge for customers that refuse to allow us to either install an electric meter, only about 14 residential customers, or refuse to give us access to the meter, their water meter, so we can change their water meter, or they won't let us put the module on for whatever reason. It'll be just a $10 per month charge per utility for us to have to go out there and manually read it as opposed to us being able to collect it. We want to have a little bit of a carrot along with the stick. The stick of swapping out the water meter is that we can identify if you have a leak before you might even know you have a leak, and we won't have to bother you anymore by going into your house to ask to see your water meter or asking you to give us reads. And the water meter will more accurately reflect the proper bill. A new water meter, old water meters get a little weird. So with that, we'll go to the next slide. I went too far on mine. And this is the water utility financial performance. It also did exceptionally well. If you look at line W7, that's the estimated fund balance generated. It was significant. We did ratchet back on a certain amount of numbers, specifically the amount of capital improvement dollars. There was a little bit of a funny bubble happening in the water utility where we had to ratchet back on that. Now that fund balance is up, we're going to push W6 capital improvement line back up. Fund balance, as I said, was deteriorating significantly. It was kind of being funny in the way it was moving around, making it a little bit of a challenge for us financially. But that has obviously significantly rebounded. And given the solid financial position of the water utility, we're going to be looking either this year or next year potentially use a little bit more of the water utility's fund balance to support municipal operations. That's always been something of a goal of mine, to get a little bit away from the electric utility. Next slide is our goals and objectives. I'm not going to go into them in any great detail. I've talked about most of them already, with the exception of pointing out that we want to complete a pilot program to model the grid at the transformer level, so we know which customer is connected to which transformer, and we can then identify through our metering system the weak links in our system, and hopefully get the volunteer time use rates out.
All right, a lot of stuff, and some of it will be on the final exam. But
okay.
So, any questions or comments for Jim? I was just not to belabor things, and we don't need to go back to the slide, but I think the slide that shows our power purchases shows two important things. One, the great job we've done in managing our power purchases. The fact that for the next 6 years we have very favorable purchase prices. But then the looming challenge, as you look at that one little block at $37, it doesn't sound too much, but you compare it to the 25, that's basically a 50% increase on the block. And so that's what we're facing. That's something we're going to have to manage. And of course, we're not the only utility that's going to have to manage that. So it's looming.
Electric rates will go up across the state. Every electric utility is going to be facing that. Other electric utilities, the public electric utilities, buy their energy in 3-year blocks. We were fortunate enough to buy out in 2020. We bought out to 2029. We bought out 9 years. Other utilities didn't do that, so we will benefit for years where they have this 3-year rolling system that's going to hurt them very significantly, their ratepayers significantly in the short term.
Any other questions or comments? Tom? Microphone? It uses electricity, so we want to run it.
This is supposed to. Eric, come back over here. I remember this. All right, so on the one sheet, Jim, we talked about this last year about proposed increase. The regular residents in the borough are not going to be getting it.
That was a slide that we didn't present this evening.
Oh, you don't want me to talk about it?
No, I know it was on the preview, but we decided to swap things out. We'll talk more about that another day.
Okay, Jim, no problem. But so the water meter project, which we've been talking about for like 10 years, is going to happen this year, like everybody's house?
Everybody lets us in. We want everybody to let us in, so yes.
If you don't let us in, most likely we'll approve a surcharge.
Sure, that's fantastic. And then you'll be able to probably generate maybe a little more, or at least regulate better. That's one of the objectives.
Yes.
So the borough understands there's a lot of benefits there. Thanks, Jim, and everybody.
Yeah, one of the, I mentioned transformers for large users. So our large water users own their water meters. So the YMCA, Drew University would own their own water meters. So they're required to do testing every few years. I don't remember that. I've been...
I forget.
Yeah, I've been retired too long, so I don't remember either. So, so for the major users, we have a system in place to make sure that they're measuring the water they actually use. For our smaller users, these meters, we don't know how far off they are, so we will find out. All right, anything else? Yes, Rachel.
Jim, can you talk, one of the recommendations from the Climate Action Committee last year was to seek to try to balance our electric purchases to be more renewable in their content, in terms of, because the borough buys energy for the entire, Madison buys energy for all of its customers. It's a tremendous lever that we have to try to drive down carbon pollution by sourcing from more renewable energy. Can you talk a little bit about the Exelon chunk that was shown there in green? And
Sure, I wish I remembered it specifically, all the details I gave back in December, but Exelon was an excellent contract. They're almost 100% non-carbon producing. They have a lot of nuclear and renewables. So we talked about different strategies, but what's happening is all of the providers that we have contracts with companies, and when we go out to bid, we say, what's your price? We don't just take it from anybody. It's Exxon, BP, all the companies you saw on that chart. And they're all moving towards more renewable, moving towards decommissioning their carbon. So we're very fortunate in that regard. But Exxon was both the lowest price and the least carbon producing, I believe, of all of the companies that we currently deal with. So sometimes we get a double good thing that happens. They were the lowest price, higher than what we'd like, but we were actually anticipating $40, so coming in the 30s was good, and then being the lowest carbon producing. So,
thanks. And then something interesting about our, the water revenues being up, and yet as a borough, I think, and certainly this council has expressed an appetite for more water conservation measures, and how can we seek to stem, wasteful use of water and protect our water resource, because that's one thing that, as has been pointed out, without water in town, we don't have a town. So this is not exactly maybe a utility finance question, but How might a water conservation ordinance figure into what we're seeing with the trends with the water revenue right now?
So a couple of things. Water revenue going up doesn't mean we're pumping more water out of the ground. When we replace water meters, we think they might be 2 to 3 or 4% more accurate. That an older water meter may miss some of the water that's coming into the house. And so that's number one. Number two, we did have a water rate increase that went into effect 2 years ago. So that is starting to filter through. So I don't know that we're pumping more gallons. I think we're more correctly billing, and that's appropriate because we want people to pay what they're consuming. In terms of water, any sort of water conservation measures, I think we need to be monitoring. We have a new licensed water operator now that Tom DiBiase has retired, and it's fantastic. I appreciate everything that Ken did to find this company to come in and do this work because they're giving us a different perspective on how to operate the utility. They work in a number of towns, and I think they can give us some good insights on water conservation measures, on how different ways we can study how the change in the aquifer level is impacting our wells. So I think those are things that we can look at. Maybe not this year, we're just kind of getting settled with this new person, but maybe in the out years we can be looking at that and then determining how we want to do that. But we should always be, and we do always encourage residents to conserve.
Thanks, Jim.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you. Well done. And Jim and Ken, thank you very much. Before we go on to ordinance for hearing, I just want to quick oversight in all the excitement related to the Dodge Field Playground and about the possibility of a major grant, $500,000 grant to support that playground. Forgot to mention Councilwoman Deb Cohen's effort, because without her determination and all the work she did leading the committee and looking at options and driving this, we wouldn't have been talking about it to begin with. So a big shout out to Councilwoman Deb Cohen for all that work. And now we'll move on to ordinance for hearing. Will the clerk please read the statement?
The ordinance scheduled for hearing was introduced by title and passed on the first reading at the regular meeting of the council held January 8th, 2024. It was posted and filed according to law, and copies were made available to the general public requesting same.
I call ordinance 1-2024 for second reading. Ask the clerk to read said by title.
Ordinance 1-2024, ordinance of the Borough of Madison, amending Chapter 195-32.4 of the Madison Borough Code entitled CBD 1, CBD 2, Central Business District Zones and Regulations.
I open the hearing. Anyone in the public wishing to comment, please step forward. Seeing none, I close the hearing. And
Mayor, I move ordinance 1-2024.
Second.
And in between meetings, this was reviewed by the planning board and it has been deemed consistent with the master plan. Any further comments? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Range?
Yes.
Mr. Harlan Budis?
Yes.
Ms. Honahan?
Yes.
Mr. Forte?
Yes.
I declare ordinance 1-2024 adopted and finally passed, and ask the clerk to publish notice there in the newspaper and file the ordinance in accordance with the law. And now we're on to our second of two invitations for public comment. Anyone in the public wishing to step forward to comment, please step forward now. Seeing none, I close this part of the meeting. We go on to the introduction of ordinances. Will the clerk please read the statement?
The ordinance is scheduled for first reading, have a hearing date set for February the 12th, 2024. All will be published in the Madison Eagle, posted on the bulletin board, and made available to members of the public requesting copies.
I call up ordinances for first reading. Ask the Borough Clerk to read said ordinance by title. Ordinance 2-2024.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison appropriating $650,000 from the General Capital Improvement Fund for the 2024 Cook Avenue Parking Lot Reconstruction Project rebid.
Mayor, I move that ordinance.
Second.
Council discussion, and this is, we already appropriated funding for this project, but it's the bids were higher and we've done some value engineering, but this will appropriate what should be enough money to move forward with this project. Any other comments? Tom?
So how much is this raising the approximate cost of the whole Cook Avenue lot?
So we're appropriating $650 more for a total of we have 1.4, but we've also done some value engineering, so hoping that the bids will come in low.
So it's Omlin who was originally involved in designing it and estimating it. They were obviously way off the mark. Yeah. Right. So they even have to redesign. So it's amazing they could be that far off.
But it was just the post-pandemic world of bidding and a lot of capital projects.
Yeah.
Where the bidding calculations did not keep up with the real world.
Yeah, you were being very nice to them there. I think that it's a big miss. I hope they're doing the second part for a little bit less, but it's going to be nice. But the one thing that I know that we pulled out, and from my perspective, I don't know if it's prudent to pull out, although I know it costs a lot of money, is putting the electricity, all the services underground. We're bringing them back above ground now, and we're just going to get pretty utility poles and somehow
it's not going to be 100% above. So the feeds to all the lighting in the parking lot will be buried.
Right.
The major cost savings are twofold with the major services. Primarily, this is to the buildings that are there by not burying it. Number one is not the cost of burying it, but it'll be designed to stay to the perimeter, so it'll have a minimal effect on the parking lot. The other thing is now we're using pole-mounted transformers. There would have been surface-mounted transformers, a little more costly, and also taking up real estate in the parking lot. So there are some advantages of going with the plan.
But if you follow what we've done around the rest of the central business district years ago, we buried everything.
Yeah.
And obviously there's a big benefit, especially if you have a catastrophe storm. But okay, if there's a way to somehow, look at that long term, we might have the funding to do that too. But I know Omlin's already got their plans 99% done. Okay, thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Ray.
Any other comments or questions? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Range?
Yes.
Mr. Harlan Pudis?
Yes.
Ms. Honahan?
Yes.
Mr. Forte?
Yes.
Ordinance 3-2024.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison appropriating $600,000 from the General Capital Improvement Fund for the 2024 milling and overlay projects.
Mayor, I move ordinance 3-2024.
Second.
Council discussion, and this is the annual funding for milling overlay. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Range?
Yes.
Mr. Harlan Pudis?
Yes.
Ms. Honahan?
Yes.
Mr. Forte?
Yes.
Ordinance 4-2024.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison appropriating $235,000 from the General Capital Improvement Fund for the 2024 Sanitary Sewer Improvements Program.
Mayor, I move ordinance 4-2024.
Second.
Council discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Range?
Yes.
Mr. Harlan Pudis?
Yes.
Ms. Honahan?
Yes.
Mr. Forte?
Yes.
Ordinance 5-2024.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison appropriating $390,000 from the Water Capital Improvement Fund for potable water well improvements projects.
Mayor, I move ordinance 5-2024.
Second.
Council discussion. Just to confirm again, all these ordinances up through 7 are making the appropriations based on the capital budget, and also for those that may be planning or watching from home, planning to come to the hearings, as we typically do for these ordinances, they will be grouped by funding source. So the general capital would be grouped into one hearing and so on. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Range?
Yes.
Mr. Harlan Pudis?
Yes.
Ms. Honahan?
Yes.
Mr. Forte?
Yes.
Ordinance 6-2024.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison appropriating $100,000 from the General Capital Improvement Fund for additional security equipment.
Mayor, I move ordinance 6-2024.
Second.
Council discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Range?
Yes.
Mr. Harlan Pudis?
Yes.
Ms. Honahan?
Yes.
Mr. Forte?
Yes.
Ordinance 7-2024.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison appropriating $250,000 from the Municipal Open Space, Recreation, and Historic Preservation Trust Fund for the Memorial Park Trail Improvements Phase 3.
Mayor, I move ordinance 7-2024.
Second.
Council discussion? Mitchell? And then Tom, you had a hand.
I just wanted to highlight that this is money that the borough is laying out initially, and then some significant portion, I think $169,000 will be recouped through a grant from the Morris County Trails Commission or funding source. So that's a great benefit we're getting from the county.
Thank you. You have comments?
There's nobody here to even hear it. I was just going to comment that my family actually just recently noticed that there's a really nice trail back, so it makes me feel good that there is more people in the community using it, including my wife. So it's great. And it's a very nice improvement to our outdoor, your wellness campaign there. Get people to walk more on the trails.
And I just got word that without Monday Night Football, our ratings are way up, so there are a lot of people at home that are watching, so they heard the comments. But I have also received a lot of very positive feedback about the great new trails at Memorial Park, so thanks for bringing that up.
Sure.
Any further comments? Hey, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Range?
Yes.
Mr. Harold Lamputis?
Yes.
Ms. Honahan?
Yes.
Mr. Forte?
Yes.
Ordinance 8-2024.
Ordinance amending Chapter 18 of the Borough Code of the Borough of Madison entitled Fire Department, establishing promotional procedures for review of the ranking of candidates for the position of Fire Chief and Captain.
Mayor, I move ordinance 8-2024.
Second.
Council discussion?
So just a little clarification on this one. This establishes procedures similar to what we have in the police department for our top kind of tier of leadership in the fire department. Fire chief and captain will be looking at adding a second captain to the fire department in support of their responsibilities with EMS. So this will kind of set us up to start that process, and then future captains and chiefs in the future.
Thank you. Any other comments? Rachel.
I'll just add that to clarify, this would be, as we seek to fill the role that Eric described, we would be promoting from within the department, keeping the current staffing level that we have.
Thank you. Any other further comments? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Range?
Yes.
Mr. Harold Lamputis?
Yes.
Ms. Honahan?
Yes.
Mr. Forte?
Yes.
Okay, move on to consent agenda resolutions. Will the clerk please read the statement?
Consent agenda resolutions will be enacted with a single motion. Any resolution requiring expenditure is supported by a certification of availability of funds. Any resolution requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda. All resolutions will be reflected in full in the minutes.
Mayor, I move the consent agenda of resolutions 51-2024 through resolution 59-2024.
Second.
Any discussion or any that need to be pulled? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Range?
Yes.
Mr. Harold Lamputis?
Yes.
Ms. Honahan?
Yes.
Mr. Forte?
Yes.
Okay, there is no unfinished business. We move on to approval of vouchers. Will the clerk please read the statement? Read the voucher totals, please.
From the current fund, $4,675,997.43. From the general capital fund, $211,110.90. From the electric operating fund, $170,418.48. From the water operating fund, $38,406.83. From the water capital fund, $82,810 even, and from the trust, $125,753.32. The total is $5,304,496.96.
Mayor, I move approval of vouchers.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call vote.
Ms. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Range?
Yes.
Mr. Harold Lamputis?
Yes.
Ms. Honahan?
Yes.
Mr. Forte?
Yes.
And under new business, I'd like to make the following appointments. First, to announce the appointment of Patricia Coyle of Stafford Drive to 4-year term to the Planning Board through December 31st, 2027. That does not require council confirmation.
And also like to make the following appointments requesting council confirmation. For the Board of Education Liaison appointments, 1-year term through December 31st. Complete Streets, David Duran. DDC, Steve Tyndall. Emergency Prep, Sarah Fisher. Recreation Advisory, Eric Fontes. And Sustainable Madison, David Duran. And to the Open Space Recreation Historic Preservation Committee, Corinne Bowen. For the Environmental Commission Representative, 1-year term through December 31st. And for the Madison Alliance Addressing Substance Abuse, Amy Lewis, Health Educator of the Westfield Regional Health Department, which is providing health services for the Borough of Madison, as and their MASA Coordinator.
Mayor, I move the foregoing appointments.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much. Thank you, John.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.